Hey YouTube, JGreen302. I want to talk to the 13 people, which is my subscription base, which is actually 11 more than I ever thought I'd get. And I'm actually quite pleased with the 13 folks that actually have sat down and heard something that I've said and said, hey, you might have some more good ideas, let me subscribe. Thank you. I think I'm going to call this a miscellaneous updates video. I'm going to touch upon a whole bunch of little things just as a follow-up, because I haven't posted much because there hasn't been a substantial subject of which I could speak at length on. So here we go. Where do I start? First thing. If any of you all are worried about an EMP blast, I found a gem. Somebody said just take everything you got and put it in a microwave oven. Brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. So for those of you who have been wondering about, how to EMP protect some gear, if you see a microwave that's being thrown away, just cut the cord off, because cords during an EMP blast, if you have a cord or an antenna or a cable, it acts like an antenna to the EMP energy. So cables are bad. I mean, cables and antennas, worst things you can have. So you get a microwave oven, you cut the power cord, you put your stuff in, you close the door. EMP protection. A microwave is built. Microwaves and EMP are very close and similar in nature, and if you notice why there's a grill on the front of the door, well, there you go. Instant Faraday cage. Lovely. Thought I'd share that tip. Another thing. I think you can see that. The guy's name is The Anti-Terrorist. He's on YouTube. You can check out his videos. He's got 2 books. I got another one here. There's his other one. I don't know him. I don't know him from being... I subscribed to him after I saw some of his videos, and just on the bizarre chance the guy ever actually sees this, I read your book. Not bad. I've got just a few pages left on this one. I don't fully subscribe to everything, but 90% of what this guy talks about is well researched, well documented, and I cannot find anything at all to counter anything he's said so far. Excellent reading material. The one thing I can tell you is that I don't watch TV. I mean, not at all. I'll turn on a football game, and in the moment a commercial comes on, I hit mute. And I've been that way for a couple of years now, and I refer to myself as a stranger in a strange land, because these people and the TV and their discussions are just unbelievable. I mean, the hours that they spend talking about the most trivial shit. Unreal. Get away from the TV. I mean, really. It's like hypnotic solution or hypnotic submission at 60 hertz. I mean, the guy makes a good point. Why do you think the government subsidized 90% of the cost of the conversion to HD TV? Do you really think the government cares that much about your entertainment? Or maybe they really wanted it. Thought I'd mention that. Let's touch on the solar stuff. Okay, a couple of things. For those of you that have been watching, there's some solar stuff that I've been working on a project. I finally completed it. I was waiting on some LED lights and a switch. I finally finished my control boards. Panels have been doing very well. I ran a small fridge freezer on the system for about 3 weeks. Recently, I just put a kilowatt meter on, and I'm now running everything grid tie. So basically what I did is I switched everything over to the batteries. I had everything. I have 2 banks and 2 control boards, and so I just throw the switch in the up position, and so I can charge the batteries until it starts cycling. And then I throw the switches into the grid tie. And every morning when the sun comes up and it starts cranking out power, the grid tie comes alive, and it starts pumping power back into the house. I think the thing was on for, I don't know, 1 or 2 days, and I already had half a kilowatt pumped back into the house. So I'm going to leave the meter on for a little bit and just kind of, I might let it run almost a month and say, well, how much energy did I put in, and start looking at the electric bill and, seeing how much value that equipment's coming out. Now, the reason I mention all this is because at our family farm, we actually installed a 28.5 kilowatt solar system, and we actually built an entire 40 by 60 by 40 building, I believe. We produce over a megawatt of power every 2 weeks. The system went online, and we've been monitoring and watching that, and it's pretty impressive. I actually had to help them with some of the monitoring installation, which I was glad to do in exchange for all the technical information on how the panels in the system was wired together. So that was kind of interesting, and now I know it on the commercial scale, and I know it on a small scale. So solar, it's a pretty interesting subject. I at least understand the basics. Even after everything I've done, this is my next on the pile of reading, just to understand the gear and the equipment and know what's going on. So now let me switch. If you guys are out there and you haven't done so, here's a tip, and it's taken me a little while because I wasn't just going to go and just do it. I kind of did like I do with pocket change, and I did this. That's about $100 in $1 bills. And I also did, it looks like a nice drug dealer wad, it really does. I got some cash, and basically the concept here is to break it up and put some 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s in a vacuum sealed bag and have it in my kit in the car, and then also break it into maybe 1 or 2 and divide them up and place some money in my bug out bag, and have some cash stashed a couple of places that are sealed, watertight. The idea being, I always go back to Katrina. When everything shut down, there was no banks, there was nothing. Japan, same thing. If anything major happens in the initial short run, if you've got cash, when ATMs and everything else isn't working, it may be the difference between getting supplies. It's kind of like a big chunk of money, but at the same time, in the big scheme of things, it isn't. It took me 3 months, I guess, to finally pull it all together to the point where it hit my target marks, and now I'm just going to seal it all up and spread everything around. Cash. In the short run, very nice to have. We're not going to get into the silver and gold crap. I'm talking about running up and getting a tank full of gas, and being one of the few people that are allowed to go in and, hey, I got cash. Can I shop for some food real quick? If you say, hey, look, I got some money. I don't need electronics. I'll pay you in cash for what I need. Might be a real good thing to have. So what else? I covered that. Outlook. Several little political notes. One thing I'd like to point out is, and I caught this on the Daily Show, and it's another reminder and enhancement. Time puts out their lead story and their cover, Syria and all the turmoil that's going on, for the rest of the world. And then for the U.S., anxiety, is it good for you? Think about that. All the conflict that's going on in Syria, the serious issues that are going on, and Time and only in the U.S. distributes their magazine with an anxiety article and completely skips the Syria thing. Can I make it any more plain that they are filtering the information that you get, and to be careful not to fall into the trap of thinking that whatever you see on CNN is the news? Point two, pull up CNN, pull up Fox, pull up MSNBC, pull up USA Today, pull up any of the standard ones, and kind of browse through and ask yourself, we're $6 trillion in debt, we're about to go into another war, what is being presented for news? And ask yourself, is Snooki really that important? And do we really care that this person ate that many pizzas? And the frivolous news. The lowest level of stupid is when people talk about people. And if that's all that they've got to talk about, then they're avoiding the subjects that are really important, like what laws did Congress just enact that are going to affect you, and how much money has the government spent, and the fact that we're not cutting back anything, etc. Pay attention. Things are getting ugly. Another note, go back. Find footage of Iran. Go back in time. Use your memory. Think. What did all the propaganda sound like when we were going into Iraq? And then ask yourself, if it doesn't look like they didn't even bother to change the playbook when they started with Iran, it's the same exact everything. That's scary. Which means they're just running a script. And the whole news media and everybody is biting into it. Now, if they do go into war over there, they said if Israel hits Iran, the barrel of oil goes from 100 to 200 the second after the munition hits. They said if the Arabs get involved into it, the sky's the limit. And if you have China, Russia, and the United States all fighting in that Arab country right in the Suez Canal, you can forget about oil shipments and a lot of other things, and it's on like Donkey Kong, because we got problems. I know we have reserves, but the prices are going to get so high that most people will not be able to afford it. Keep that in mind. Hungry people tend to get violent. Doubt me. Pay attention to every country that's having problems and see what's going on. What else? There was one other... and I don't have the answer for this, but, let me give you an example of just a piece out of my day. So somebody at work says to me, he says, I was talking to my kids, and he was like trying to explain to them about the Middle East, and he said, if a nuke goes off, he says, are we in the best spot for the nuclear fallout as it drifts around? Because as you know, the stuff from Japan is just now washing up on the coast of California. He says, if there's nuclear detonation and it puts it in the air, where's it going to come down? And I'm generally pretty paranoid, and I always ask myself, am I paranoid enough? And I realized I hadn't even considered that thought. Interesting. By the time I go to bed tonight, I'll have that answer. So this is a general wrap-up, just a couple of tidbits, little FYIs, some interesting reading material, and a thank you to 13 wonderful subscribers. I couldn't have done it without you. Folks, thanks for listening. As soon as I have something with meat and potatoes, I'll gladly put a good one out. Take care.